It's now time to take a look at the news stories making headlines across the globe. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, says there's an urgent need for the unbundling of INEC to allow for an Electoral Offences Commission that will ensure the prosecution of high-profile offenders during elections. He disclosed this during a public hearing at the National Assembly. Arise News correspondent Tunji Olani-Pekun filed this report.
So Mahmood Yakubu, at this public hearing on the bill for the establishment of a National Electoral Offences Commission and the House of Representatives, says INEC is overburdened by the issues of prosecuting electoral offenders and such would prefer an independent body to perform such functions. But he opposed some of the clauses in the bill which empowers the Attorney General of the Federation to make laws for the Commission, stressing that it will erode the independence of the Commission.
We look forward to the day when highly placed sponsors of thuggery, including high-profile figures that seek to benefit from these violations, are arrested and prosecuted. We believe that the work of the proposed commission will help in this regard. The ballot box snatcher is unlikely to be a beneficiary of the election. The person who gives money at the polling unit is unlikely to be a beneficiary of the election. And these shenanigans will not stop until we get to their sponsors, the high-profile sponsors of these violations, and make an example out of them. The second clause is clause 44, which empowers the Attorney General of the Federation to make rules or regulations for the Commission, that is the Electoral Offences Commission. Conferring additional power to any other body may cause friction or conflict with the Commission.
On its part, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission opposed the establishment of a separate commission to investigate and prosecute electoral offenders in the country, saying the offences contained in the bill are already covered by other laws in the country. The Inter-Party Advisory Council, in its own submission, says the Electoral Offences Commission is the missing link with Nigeria having a free and fair and more inclusive election.
If you look at this law, it is mostly about how the political parties, our members, and even the electorates behave during the elections. So we have to really take a very deep analysis of what we have before us. It's not that we are scared, but it's that we welcome the development because we believe it will make the space to become a very, very organized space. There will be no impunity as we observe today, and going forward, Nigeria will be respected in the Committee of Nations.
We think that the composition of the Electoral Offences Commission should follow exactly the model of INEC in appointing its membership. I think that the proposal made in this bill, which includes representatives of the Ministry of Interior, representatives of different ministries, the police, all of those immediately subject a new commission to possible partisanship and use in hunting down political opponents.
For the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Chairman of the committee, the public hearing is coming at a critical time when the country is looking ahead towards credible polls in 2023.
There is no doubt that a lot of work still needs to be done to take the country to the point where elections are devoid of the usual challenge of violence, fraud, abuse of process. A review of the past elections indicate that the need for the National Assembly to take necessary legislative steps to address identify challenges and plug the loopholes.
Having the commission in place and functional will no doubt enhance the credibility of the electoral process and contribute immensely to the nation's right to have free, fair and credible polls, since the provision in the enabling law will serve as a disincentive to those wishing to perpetrate electoral offences.
The Electoral Offences Commission Bill is a consolidation of 4 private member bills, as well as a version passed by the Senate which provides for an imprisonment of up to 20 years or a fine of 40 million naira, or both, for the offences of obstructing vote counting or other acts inhibiting electoral due process.
Okay, Emmanuel Efeni, here we have it, Electoral Offences Commission and the debate over the bill proposed earlier in the year by Honorable Aishaku Duku, Kingsley Chinda, and also Honorable John Binchin, I think that's his surname, okay, to say that, look, we need to have in place a framework to regulate electoral offenses in Nigeria. And there were concerns about the way the National Assembly was moving with that. But now the House of Representatives yesterday organized a one-day hearing, and we have had different perspectives from that particular process. Okay, I will comment on some of those issues later, but I'd like you to start first. Noting, to start with, that this began since the Uwais Commission of 2009. After the Uwais Commission, we also had in 2011 the Sheikh Ahmed Gumi Committee on Post-Election Violence, also making a similar recommendation that we need an Electoral Offences Commission. There was also the Senator Ken Nnamani Committee that also made this recommendation, in addition to similar recommendations by people in society. But the reasons for this, the rationale, the problems, the contradictions have been observed over the years. And some of those issues came up yesterday. But let's have your take first before I come back to it.
Well, the public hearing yesterday on the bill for an act to establish the National Electoral Offences Commission to provide for the legal framework for investigation and prosecution of electoral offenses for the general improvement of electoral process. Yes, there were different perspectives yesterday. Expectedly, INEC was in the fore, championing the need for this commission to be established because embedded in the extant law is the powers given to INEC to actually do this job, to investigate and prosecute electoral offenders. And since 2015, INEC has filed about 125 cases and has been able to secure 60 convictions. Yet, the chairman of INEC yesterday canvassed that this commission should be established so that it will enable the commission to clamp down on electoral crimes and ensure effective prosecution of electoral offenders, particularly high-profile offenders, because like Prof. Yakubu Mahmoud stated, it is not the thug that snatches ballot boxes that benefit from electoral fraud, nor are the thugs who you see on live TV destroying ballot boxes in Okota during election day. They are not the beneficiaries. So to get at the high-profile sponsors of this, we need a commission like this that will be saddled with the job of investigating and prosecuting such offenders. Because as it stands, INEC has no power to arrest. That belongs to another agency, the police and other security agencies. And INEC is saying that it has enough on its plate. But this issue of dealing with electoral offenders is germane to free, fair, and credible election. Because if people are not arrested, tried, and jailed, of course, there will continue to be incentive for people to plot how to rig election, even as we deploy technology. Because we cannot take it for granted that because we are now introducing technology, there's an electronic transmission of results, so everything will be secure. No, because these politicians, as well as the electoral umpire is putting in place measures to curtail and forestall malpractices. There are politicians who are also sitting down thinking how to circumvent these processes. Just like Ashibe said, since men have learned to shoot without missing, Eleke Dibet said, I too have learned to fly without perching. And I'm sure some of these politicians are sitting somewhere that no matter how INEC tries, they too will see what they can do to help themselves on election day. But this is very important. What I don't get is the EFCC opposing this bill, that, well, we have enough agencies to do what this bill is asking for. Of course, if you tamper with Form EC8, that is a forgery, as it were, and there is law in our extant laws that is an offense and you can be prosecuted for that. If you snatch ballot box and attack people, that is violence, you can be prosecuted for that. But what INEC is saying is that, look, we want a commission dedicated to this. Because the EFCC argument that, oh, we have enough agencies already doing this. If we have been doing this very well, these agencies of government have been doing this very well, we will not be talking of electoral offenders today, because many will have been languishing in cells. But we know that many who committed these offenses are working as free men today. Then the other aspect of which INEC canvass, the attempt to the amendment of clause 44 of this bill, which seeks to empower the Attorney General of the Federation to make rules and regulations with respect to the functions of this commission. And of course, INEC is saying that giving such powers to the Attorney General of the Federation will not make for maybe free, fair prosecution of these people. Because the Attorney General of the Federation is still a political appointee of the president, or you say of the ruling party. So I will agree with INEC that perhaps that body should be independent. The commission should be independent. Ruben.
Okay, yes, I would like to comment on this, given its importance. And my take is as follows. We have over 100,000 polling units in this country, over 119,000 polling units. We have over 8,000 wards. We have 774 local governments. One of the lessons that we have learned since the return to democratic rules, civilian rules, some people will insist, in 1999, is that, look, the major problem with elections in Nigeria will seem to be rigging, the violation of the integrity of the electoral process. And it was partly on the basis of that the Shehu Yaradua administration in 2009 set up the
Ways Commission.
Yes, the Justice Mohammed Ways Commission. And one of the outcomes of that commission was the commission saying, look, we have very serious issues with electoral offenses in this country. And unless we deal with that, we really cannot talk about a proper transition from military absolutism to liberal democracy. Okay, everybody talked about it, nothing happened. We moved on to the 2011 general elections. After the 2011 general elections and the issues arising therefrom, President Goodluck Jonathan set up the Sheikh Ahmed Limu committee. One of the things, based on the enabling documents that committee was given, was the outcome relating also to the integrity of elections. Now I recall that around that period, the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria, having its headquarters in Lagos here, used to organize regular seminars and workshops, and it was, always a delight to be part of those discussions. And one of the outcomes of those processes was that, in fact, rigging had reached another level. Nigeria is such an interesting place that if you identify, let's say in 2007 elections, according to one of those reports, 11 electoral offenses, By the time we reach 2011, some of those offenses had increased to like 55. Because it's like the more the state made an effort to address this issue, the more, electoral offenders devise new ways to beat the system.
The politicians.
To game the system. Okay, so we move beyond then, 2011 elections. In 2015, the general elections conducted by Mahmoud Jega, Professor Mahmoud Jega, distinguished social scientist. One of the things that Professor Mahmoud Jega also came up with is that, look, we have to deal with electoral offenses because INEC is overburdened in terms of time, in terms of resources. Time, because electoral offenses are time-bound. The principle in law is that electoral matters are sui generis. It means that they are in a category of their own. So whether it's pre-election, election, or post-election, you have to do it within a particular time frame. And INEC does not have the capacity to deal with that. Now again, under Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu is drawing attention to the same thing. He's saying that, look, INEC is overburdened to the extent that, okay, you can have electoral offenses in over 119,000 words, polling units that we have. But do they have the capacity to prosecute? If you look at the record that was presented, 60 cases successfully prosecuted out of many. There will be many others. Okay? So this is the issue right now. And that is why I think the public hearing is important. And INEC is saying, can a framework, a legal framework, reduce its burden so that all of us can focus on this issue, so that we don't keep allowing money bags to influence election, ballot snatchers to influence elections, and those who want to rig, dictating and violating the will of the people. So apart from the integrity, there's also the violation of the people's right to choose. Now, EFCC says no, you'll be taking powers away from the police, from existing institutions. Well, it was a public hearing. All views could come to play. The three gentlemen, Honorable Duku, Honorable Chinda, and Honorable Dinye. I keep mispronouncing his name, but I'm sure it's Honorable Dinye. I think so. They mean well for Nigeria, and I think that this is an important bill that should be seen to its logical conclusion. But a point was raised by Clement Nwankwo, and the main point that is made by Clement Nwankwo is about the quantum of the punishment. What is the issue? Okay, if you snatch ballot box, you go to jail for 20 years and you pay 40 million fine. And he's saying no, he thinks that is a bit exaggerated. What is more important? It's not the basic principle is that it's not the weight of the punishment that is important. It is the fact that persons are apprehended and they are convicted.
And that punishment will serve as a deterrent.
Yeah, but as to the point raised by the EFCC, yes, there can be collaboration. EFCC, INEC may not have the capacity to investigate and prosecute at the same time. But all of these agencies, in the framing of the spirit and letter of the new law, can work together. But it's good that we are coming to this conversation. And as for those who are saying that this will amount to the creation of a new bureaucracy, I don't think so. Because as Professor Mahmoud Yakubu pointed out very well in his comment on clauses 44 and 33 of this law, okay, he's asking for the independence of the commission of INEC so that it's not overwhelmed by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. But that extra bureaucracy may well be needed because, as he said in his comment on clause 33, that the courts are already overburdened. And that's part of the problem. And we hope that if we have a law in place, the true test of any law is in its implementation. You can have a beautiful law that says everything. If you don't implement it, if electoral offenders are not punished, then of course the law will become ineffectual. It will be a dead law. So I hope that the end game in all of this is not a dead law, but a law that will be properly enforced and electoral offenses will be properly investigated and prosecuted, and those who snatch ballot boxes, those who adopt other measures including bribing the electorate, will realize that the law is waiting for them. Okay, thank you, Emmanuel Efeni.